yeah. So then we get to their clothes didn't wear out.
Now, clothes. Let's look at the word clothes because it might mean spiritual clothes, I'm wondering. You think that as well?
Yeah.
We don't know, but we'll have a look.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get a cup of coffee in a minute. Clothes.
It's interesting in, you know, the clothes. I like clothes.
Yeah,
I like fashion. I like clothes.
I like fashion and clothes.
And that intrigues me, you know. we talk about we're a part of a throwaway society, but they were not being throwing it away. None of it wore out. Yeah, we wouldn't be saying, oh no, that's not fashionable anymore. And nothing wore out. No. Nothing wore out, which is sort of mind-blowing. 40 years. I mean, okay, some of the clothes I've got, I've probably had 10, 20 years, which I'm very bad at actually putting things out and throwing things away. And I've probably got some clothes that are 10, 20 years old, but 40 years.
There were some good clothes.
Some good clothes.
Or was it that they had so many clothes?
Like us.
They could turn it round. Yeah. Could be.
Yeah.
Right, it's the word Salma, S-A-L-M-A. And it's clothing, garment, cloak, robe, clothes, garment, robes, clothing, garments. So garments, yeah, garments and clothing. But often it helps actually, and I'm just tempted to do this actually. If we go back and look at that 8515 word and see where else that is in if we were in the New Testament it would be a different number, so we can't do that, but see where else that is in the Old Testament, because there's that might give us a key to it.
There's a phrase that talks about garments of righteousness, isn't there?
Yes. I put on you a garment of praise as well. Yeah. So if it's the same number, it'll be interesting. That's another way of using this book, which is really interesting. Clothes. Where was it? Clothes.
Clothing.
Okay. So the 8515. Let's see where. Can you see where garment of praise? Have you got your phone that you can look that up? No, you haven't got it. No. Let's have a look. 8515. Right, so it's in Deuteronomy then 8515. Let's see. It's not used everywhere, that word. Wow, in Job it says that even his clothes would detest him. He was in a bad place, Job. Bless him, he was really, I felt so sorry for that man. 8515. Yeah, I think it does mean physical clothes actually from the looks of this passage. Yeah, I think it does mean the physical clothes didn't wear out, their garments did not wear out, which is absolutely amazing, like you said, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, if you related that to something spiritual, like it is almost like God didn't change. You know, God was still there, wasn't he? He's still providing, he's still the same.
Well, you think about how long they'd been. I think, hadn't they been in slavery for 400 years before they did this?
Yeah, a long time.
And so he brought them out of that. They didn't have any of this.
No.
They didn't have this when they were in slavery. They were really in a bad place.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much of a concept of God they had at that by the time they were due to come out, when God brought them out.
Mm.
You know, until Moses came along and all the plagues started happening, and God started to show his strength and power through that. I'm not sure how much of an understanding of God and his power that they really had.
Well, they've come across that red flipping sea. That was a good start, wasn't it?
Yeah, but before that, I mean, what sort of concept did they have?
No. They'd only heard about it, really.
Yeah, because I mean, there weren't the festivals like Passover and all that, because that was all part of the plague. So they hadn't got those festivals in place at that point in time until the
Passover of the Lamb,
which is happening actually right now.
Right now,
yeah.
They daubed the blood on the doorposts.
Yeah. Which is on our calendar is now linked in with Easter.
Yeah.
And it's believed that it was because that's why people were in Jerusalem, because they were there to celebrate the Passover. So the whole picture of Passover and the daubing of the blood on the doors, door frames, was all a pointer to Jesus coming. And when he did come, he came when that festival was actually going on in Jerusalem. It's interesting how God fits these things all together.
And just while you're talking, I was just looking up these two words here before we get there. Kingdoms and nations. Before we get there, because just to look them up, really.
There's a bit about their feet not getting swollen either. Their clothes did not wear out, nor did their feet become swollen. I mean, considering the kind of ground that they were walking on.
Yeah, really rugged.
Really rugged, ground, stony ground. And they were constantly walking.
Yeah.
They seemed to be on the move most of the time.
Yeah.
But their feet didn't seem to...
So he looked after their health as well.
Yeah.
And they made sure they had rest when they were supposed to have rest. So it wasn't like this sort of forced, not like the forced labour. It would be interesting to see, actually, whether their feet ever swelled when they were in forced labour in Egypt.
Yeah.
Because I bet that must have been... Maybe that's why it's mentioned. See, without looking back, we don't know, do we?
No,
that would take a whole other thing to look at that, wouldn't it?
Would be
interesting to see how ill they were, how many died in that slavery. I bet feet just means feet, but I've just got to look. When you're just on one of them.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
8079 for feet.
Yeah, because we tend to think of a lot about feet is about getting up and walking and walking into what God wants for us and all those kind of things. I wonder whether sometimes we tend to colour, stuff that's in the Bible that sometimes is really basic, and we put some, twist on it. So it will be interesting to see what feet.
Feet means feet.
Yeah, feet means feet.
8079. You won't be looking it up, or did you want to?
No, that's fine. You go on.
Working as a team here, we are. I wonder if the scribes, when they actually wrote the Bible out, were like this. Like, they probably had to say, "What we need to find the right word for that."
Yeah,
ages.
Do you remember this? Am I remembering this rightly?
Yeah. Okay, well, this is interesting. 8079. The word is regel. regel. Foot, by extension, body parts associated with the foot. So it wasn't just the foot, it was anything associated with the foot.
Oh, right, okay. So if they had shoes, the shoes didn't wear out. Well, because I suppose that's part of your clothes.
Their sole, their legs, their big toe. Their ankle.
What about the other toes?
It's also a euphemism for the genitals.
Oh.
interestingly.
Hmm.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
We were wrong there then, because it wasn't just foot means foot, is it?
No.
Footing or base of an object, footstep as a measure of length. Legs, feet, footstool, times. Ooh, times. Steps, big toes, fleet-footed, following footsteps, accompanied, ankles. So it sounds like it's physical.
Yeah.
And anything that is related to the connected to
so legs, and their legs didn't swell and their feet didn't swell and they didn't get sore ankles and
or what's it. Because that is all if your legs come up and you're walking, all that is shifting while you're walking, isn't it? So that nothing that was associated with their feet, with walking in any way, shape or form, was affected. Became swollen.
So physically they were fit. They were fit and they were kept fit. Healthy. Yeah.
That's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then swollen. Should we look up the word swollen, which was 1301. 1301. 1301.
It's interesting actually that, because sometimes when God is asking you to do stuff, or you feel like God is asking you to do stuff, you think, I'm not healthy enough, I'm not fit enough to do that, or well, what if I become ill? But God just kept them fit and healthy to do what he was telling them to do, and to follow him in his leading. Because through going all around the wilderness, they had God as a pillar of cloud in front of them during the day, and a pillar of fire in front of them through the night. So if they were even moving on during the night sometimes. And if God's leading, then he was keeping them physically healthy and physically fit to do what he wanted them to do.
Everything they needed for each day, whether it's their health or... That's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
I'm just looking up the word forgave for you while you're talking.
It's interesting because, sometimes we think, oh, I'm getting too old for this, or I certainly do. I'm getting older. I'm thinking, am I really, going to be healthy enough or fit enough to be able to do this that you're calling me to? And so that's quite interesting that has come up there. It's maybe one of the answers to one of my prayers at any rate.
Right, so going on, you gave them kingdoms and nations. So looking up the word gave, 5989, because gave, that word I think is worth looking up for sure. Do you think? 5989. Okay.
This is going on a long time.
It is, but we can edit it. We can edit it at the end. We're nearly there. 5989. Natan, Natan, forgave. And to give, to be given, dedicated. Dedicated.
I'd like that. That's a nice word. I like that word.
Make, made, hand over. Hand over. Handed over. Placed. Grant. Pay. Grant. Pay. Yield. Delivered. appointed, send, spread. I mean, there's loads and loads of words. Reward.
I see generously down here.
Give generously, yeah, give generously.
Yeah. So, you looked at kingdoms and nations.
I've got a number here, 4930. I think that is 4930. 4930. I think I'm getting hungry now.
Yeah, too.
4930.
Definitely lunchtime.
Mamlaka. Mamlaka. Mamlaka.
And what's that word? That's for
kingdom. Kingdoms. It means royal dominion. You're going to love this. Royal dominion. Reign. REIGN. Kingship. Royal power. Kings, yeah. So that if you put those words in, you handed over, you granted, you paid, you dedicated to them royal dominion, kingship, royal power.
That sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah.
And then nations, 6639. AM. So nations, people, countrymen, armies, troops, people, nations, men, army, troops, they, them, soldiers, nations, countrymen, fighting men, Israelites, nationality, others, each people, them, common people, creatures, everyone, humble, anyone else, common people, community, followers, force of men, forces, foreigners, leaders, merchants, multitudes. So, I mean, that's basically everybody. That's like the armies, the common people, even the animals.
Yeah. You get ownership of. Yeah.
Armies, common people, even the merchants, the businesses.
Yeah.
I want to look up that word allotting just quickly. Allotting to them. What does allotting mean? Because it comes from the word allot.
Yeah. You tend to think of it as giving, don't
Lots of, or giving them a lot, like an area.
Yeah.
Allotting. So it appears one place in the Bible, in the Old Testament, this word. 2745. Allotting. 2745. You're going to get one of these now, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Because the smaller concordances haven't got all this in them, so it's it's a really good investment. 27. It's quite easy to use as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
2745, Balak or Halak. Halak, I think it is. Halaq. Halaq. To divide, apportion, assign, disperse, distributed, divide, allot, apportion, to be divided, to get one's share, to divide among themselves, divided, dividing, accomplice, parcel out, assigned, distributed.
It's interesting. It is a portion, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
separated into divisions.
Yeah.
Split.
We tend to think of it as just giving. You're being given something, but it's actually you're being given a portion of something.
It's assigned to you.
Yeah. It's particular, isn't it? You have been given a particular portion, a particular job.
Yeah, there's yours.
Yeah.
And that's yours. It's like a deliberate thing. Yeah. We've been given something really particular to us. I mean, those tribes, that wasn't just a... Yeah, they drew those lots and believed that those lots were spiritual things of God. It was discerning God's will. Yeah. The Israelites, by tribe, were given a portion of the land as well, weren't they? So it's, Yeah, and then we looked up Remotus Frontiers before, and I can't remember what... Did you write down what Remotus Frontiers was before?
We started with that, didn't we?
It was 6992. Yeah, that's where we started doing it, and then we kind of thought we'd better go back to the beginning, didn't we? What a feast!
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, here we go. It was 6-9. They kind of, those two words work together in this. In this. And it meant side, edge, boundary. Wasn't it the crown of the head, the forehead?
Yes, forehead.
Because we spoke at this. We come right back right now to where we started, isn't it? Forehead.
I think you wrote that down initially.
Or crown of the head.
I wrote it down somewhere. I can't seem to find it.
The crown of the head, because we mentioned about our thoughts. Our minds, didn't we?
Yeah.
Distant places. Borders, because you said this morning the highways and byways, right to the edges.
Yeah, right to the edges. Yeah.
Because when you've got your plans drawn up, when you have a house, it shows you right where your boundary line is, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And we need to protect those boundary lines, actually, because if we don't, I think if we don't go right to the edge of what God's given us.
Well, you're just fiddling around in the middle, aren't you? You're actually wandering around in the wilderness in the middle, and you're not really appreciating the whole picture.
Yeah. And it's you're not embracing everything.
It's a bit like we've got the blank canvas here, which you've talked about. Yeah. And it's like you're just doing a little picture in the middle, a little which we call when we're doing art. You just do these little tiny lines and these little tiny picture, and you're not exploring the whole boundary of that canvas. Yeah.
Well, it's like when the pioneers discovered America, isn't it? It's like, when they discovered the new lands and everything, when we go out as far as we can into space, constantly wanting to push out. I love it. I really love it. Wanting to say, well, what's out there?
It's interesting because sometimes it's dangerous. Yeah. Like when they were exploring, the West. Yeah. They'd all got their places along on the East Coast and down the East side, but the people that pushed out into the West, it was sometimes a bit hairy and a bit dangerous and a bit scary. Yeah. But if you've got God leading you like the Israelites had, then you can do anything. You can go anywhere.
Exactly. And he wanted them because, the other people that had got that land, the Canaanites that had got that land that they were going into the promised land, they were cultivating it and the food was huge. But the Lord, he wanted to give, this whole 40 years he was training them to be able to experience the fullness of what he wanted to give them. That's what I feel. Having read this, I feel that we're only experiencing it's like we only use a tiniest bit of our brains, or we're missing
a tiny bit of our imagination. Yeah, there's that scripture that says he will do infinitely more than what you can imagine.
Yeah. Far and above.
And that's a bit what we're like. We're doing that tiny little picture in the middle, and I go because that's the sound that charcoal makes if you're just doing little lines with it.
Oh yeah.
But if you're making big marks with it, it's a whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah.
You know? And we tend to use that little bit of our imagination, and we don't ask God what He's putting in there. You know what that He can expand. You talked about Jabez expands my boundaries. You know, without asking God to expand our boundaries, expand our imagination, expand our imagination,
enlarge our territory, because He won't let us go beyond. You know, when He says, "I'm going to enlarge your territory," or "I'm going to increase you," you know, it's like when He told me I was going to move down here. I started looking at houses. He kept saying the southwest to me. I kept looking like 1.5 miles down the road to the next town.
This is southwest of where I live.
Yeah, and he kept talking to me about cherry blossom trees. This is hilarious. Cherry blossom trees the whole time, and so I looked up cherry blossom trees. Flackwell Heath was about a mile and a half up the road. So I started praying over Flackwell Heath. Now I'm living in a house that is like over 200 miles away from there. That's where we actually were moving to. And I've got a cherry blossom tree in the corner of the garden at the bottom there. Now, I mean, you couldn't make that up. He's got a sense of humour, hasn't he?
Yes,
you thought
definitely.
The cherry blossom trees that I was taking you to, the orchard, was like 1.5 hours away. But no, Claire, it was over 200 miles away.
Yeah.
And so now he's telling me that we're moving again. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm thinking it's, you know, it's still in the UK. It might not be.
No.
I'm hoping it's on the planet.
Yes.
Would be good, Lord.
Yeah.
Because
You know they're advertising for astronauts
at
the moment.
Well, there you go. It's been nice knowing you all. Yes, thank you very much. Yes. Thank you so much for bringing that word. That's really
it's good.
Wow.
It's really good amazing to explore it together, isn't it?
Yeah, really exciting.
I don't think I'd have done that much.
I wouldn't have done it. Yeah.
You.
It's been good to sit together and do it.
Yeah.
And passionate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Bye.
Bye.